In the business world, it's dog eat dog, and you need every bit of competitive edge you can possibly get. Whether you're a salesperson, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or corporate executive, you've landed on the podcast that gives you that edge and more. This is the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. Exploring the strategies, tactics, and mindset shifts needed to elevate your business and leadership skills to new heights. Your host has walked the walk. He's coached thousands of clients to remarkable results and rubbed shoulders with legends like Tony Robbins, Ken Blanchard, Jack Canfield, and Brian Tracy. It's practical advice, inspiring stories, and the occasional dose of tough love, helping you to overcome challenges and seize opportunities. This is the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. And now your host, owner of Potential in Motion, coaching you to the edge of what's possible, Tom Kelly.
Welcome to the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. In today's episode, I want to talk about something that almost no one admits to doing, but almost every business owner, executive, and salesperson does at some point. That's playing small. Now, here's the interesting part. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today I'm going to limit my growth. Today I'm going to underprice my value. Today I'm going to avoid expansion. Today I'm going to cap my income. Nobody says that. But your fear doesn't show up wearing a name tag. It shows up disguised as being practical, being conservative, being cautious, being responsible, being realistic. And over time, these small decisions compound. Small pricing decisions limit your revenues and destroy your profitability. Small hiring decisions destroy your growth and leave you grinding harder. Small selling decisions limit your ability to attract great clients and destroys your pipeline. And eventually, you don't have a small week, you don't have a small month, you have a small trajectory. And trajectory is what determines your future. Today, we're going to talk about 3 specific places your fear hides in business: pricing, hiring, selling. Because here's the truth. Playing small feels safe in the moment, but will destroy your business over time. So let's dive in. Before we get tactical, we need to understand what's really going on underneath all this. Playing small is rarely about your ability. It's about discomfort. You see, growth requires exposure, and exposure creates vulnerability. And ultimately, being vulnerable activates your biggest fears. So what do? You rationalize. You tell yourself, the market won't pay that. It's not the right time to hire. I don't want to seem pushy. I don't want to lose the deal. I don't want to make the wrong move. Those statements all sound logical, right? In reality, they're emotional, and they're based on your fears. They're the result of your limited mindset. In my experience, almost every small decision is about avoiding short-term discomfort. Here's the pattern I've seen over and over again in coaching business owners and executives. They avoid one uncomfortable decision, then another, And nothing catastrophic happens, but nothing expands either. Growth doesn't collapse dramatically, it just plateaus quietly. That's the danger. Playing small doesn't explode your business, it slowly shrinks your ceiling and destroys your growth. So let's talk about pricing. Pricing is one of the clearest indicators of whether someone is playing small, and I've seen this firsthand. I recently had a client that I was working with who was a consultant working on a proposal for a potential client. He's a single-person consulting business, and he was competing against a number of other consultants for the business, and he was afraid he was going to lose the opportunity. He already had a number of conversations with the prospect, and the next meeting he was going to present his pricing. Tom, he said, I'm thinking about coming in at $4,000. What do you think about that? You need to add another 0 to that, I said. He panicked. Whoa, that's way too much. If I quote that price, there's no way he's going to work with me. Then a funny thing happened. The next day, his prospect called him. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I've narrowed my choice down to you and one other consultant. I just got off the phone with him, and he said he would do the project for $45,000. What's your price? Quick on his feet, my client said, Well, that's great news. My price is only $40,000. Great, you were my first choice. When can we get started? He almost lost the client because he was afraid. Afraid of losing approval, afraid of losing the deal, afraid of not being worth it. That's playing small, and it happens all the time. The reality was that his potential client wanted to work with him. He was first on his list. Fortunately, it worked out for him. In most cases, he would have lost a piece of business because he was priced way too low. Even if he had won it for $4,000, he would have done the work for a fraction of what it was worth. Either way, he loses. Business owners underprice because they don't want resistance. Salespeople discount too quickly because silence feels uncomfortable. Consultants delay price increases because they fear client loss. But here's the hidden cost. When you underprice, you reduce your margins, you reduce reinvestment, you reduce hiring capability, you reduce optionality. Let's make this tangible. If you undercharge by $5,000 per client and you close 20 clients a year, that's $100,000 in lost margin every year. That's not small, that's not cautious, that's expensive, and it compounds. Now let's go deeper. When you underprice, you don't just lower your revenue, you lower your position in the market. Premium pricing attracts premium clients. Discounted pricing attracts high maintenance clients. And high maintenance clients require more time, more emotional energy, more explanation, which leads to burnout. Many business owners are not burned out because they work too much. They're burned out because they undercharge for the work they do. Now let me ask you something. If your close rate is extremely high, is it possible you're pricing for comfort instead of value? My rule of thumb is that if you aren't losing 20% of your opportunities based on your price being too high, then your price is too low. Growth requires friction. No friction often means no stretch, and stretch is where expansion lives. Are you pricing based on value or based on fear? That's an uncomfortable question, but it's an important one. Now let's talk about hiring. This one quietly caps growth more than almost anything else. Playing small in hiring sounds like this. I'll just handle it. Let's wait another quarter. I'm not sure revenue is stable enough. I don't want to commit to payroll. What if I hire the wrong person? Those are reasonable thoughts. But here's what I see over and over again. Business owners wait 12 to 18 months too long to hire. During that time, they work nights, they work weekends, they answer emails at 10 p.m., they stay stuck in execution instead of strategy, and they tell themselves they're being responsible. But what's really happening? They're avoiding risk. Underhiring is just another form of overworking yourself. And overworking yourself does not create scale, it creates exhaustion. I made this mistake very early in my coaching practice. My fear around hiring an assistant was causing me to have to work after hours just to keep up with email, scheduling clients, and other admin type tasks that I didn't have time for during the day. I was worried it would cost too much or that I might hire the wrong person and it would cause issues with my clients. I even thought that there's no way I was going to find someone that can do it as well as I can. The reality, once I hired someone, I realized that I should have done it way sooner. Not only did hiring an assistant save me tons of time and headaches, but she was able to do my admin and scheduling better and faster than I ever did, and for a fraction of what it was actually costing me. Now let's talk about another version of playing small in hiring: tolerating underperformance, avoiding termination conversations, keeping someone on the team because you feel bad, because it's uncomfortable, because you don't want conflict. Here's the hidden cost of that. Your A players see it. High performers don't like carrying underperformers that leadership refuses to address. And when standards are flexible, culture weakens. When culture weakens, A players leave. Playing small in hiring doesn't just slow growth, it lowers standards. And lowered standards will ultimately destroy your business from within. Now let's talk about selling. This is where playing small is often the most obvious. Playing small in selling looks like not asking for the business, over-explaining instead of leading, talking too much because silence feels uncomfortable, discounting before being asked, avoiding high-level prospects because you feel intimidated. What's underneath that? Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of hearing no. I see this all the time in salespeople. They sell on price. They ask the prospect what they're buying and tell them they can get the same thing for cheaper. This isn't sales at all. It's devaluing your product or service simply because you're leaning into your fears. Great salespeople provide massive value for their clients by solving their problems with a product or service that adds massive value for them at a price that adds value for everyone. Here's the truth. You cannot build a big business with timid conversations. Let that sink in. You cannot build a big business with timid conversations. Big growth requires confident asks. It requires clarity. It requires directness. And it requires tolerating rejection without shrinking. When you avoid strong selling conversations, you protect your ego, but you limit your business. And there's another hidden cost. Every time you avoid the bigger ask, you reinforce a smaller identity. You train your brain to believe, I'm not ready, I'm not at that level, I shouldn't push too hard. There's nothing stronger in the human mindset than being in alignment with how you see yourself. As your identity gets smaller and smaller, so do your sales. Confidence grows through exposure, not avoidance. The more you lean into uncomfortable sales conversations, the less emotional they become and the better results you get. Now let's take a step back for a moment. Small pricing decisions, small hiring decisions, small selling decisions. Over 3 years, let me give you 2 possible futures. Future 1, you keep underpricing, you delay hiring, you avoid difficult sales conversations, revenues grow slowly, you're busy, you're tired, margins are thin, you feel stuck. Future number 2, you raise pricing strategically, you hire before you're completely comfortable, you have stronger sales conversations, revenue expands, you build capacity, margins improve, confidence grows. The difference between those 2 futures isn't talent, it's tolerance for discomfort. Playing small protects you from discomfort today, but it guarantees limitation tomorrow. At the core, this isn't about tactics, it's about identity, it's about your mindset. Leaders don't grow beyond their self-perception. If you see yourself as a small operator, you'll make small decisions. If you see yourself as a growth leader, you'll tolerate expansion discomfort. Playing big is not ego, it's responsibility. Responsibility to your potential, responsibility to your team, responsibility to your clients, responsibility to your future. Reckless decisions ignore data. Courageous decisions evaluate data and move anyway. So here's my challenge to you. This week, don't overhaul everything. Just make one stronger move. Raise one price. Have one hiring conversation. Address one underperformer. Ask for one bigger deal. One decision shifts trajectory. Start with one thing, then wash, rinse, and repeat. Consistent execution over time is what will build your confidence as well as your business. Shift your mindset from fear and limited resources to one of abundance. So let's wrap up. Today we talked about the hidden cost of playing small. Fear hides in pricing, fear hides in hiring, fear hides in selling. Playing small feels safe in the moment, but it's expensive over time. Growth requires discomfort, expansion requires courage, and leadership requires you to outgrow your fear. One of my favorite quotes of all times comes from the movie Point Break. Fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. The question isn't whether fear exists, it does. The question is whether or not you're going to allow it to limit your potential. If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who needs to elevate their game to another level. A salesperson, a leader, or a business owner who's playing smaller than they're capable of. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and invite your friends to listen in as well. I'm Tom Kelly, and until next time, stop playing small.
You've been listening to the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast. On this highly useful podcast for people in the business world, you get the absolute top-notch info from an absolute pro on how to elevate your business and your leadership skills. Tom Kelly owns Potential in Motion, coaching you to the edge of what's possible. He's also a professional speaker and leadership trainer. He's worked with some of the biggest names in the coaching business: Tony Robbins, Ken Blanchard, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy. To sign up for a complimentary coaching session and to access some great free resources, hit the website at businesscoachchicago.com. Your success is not just a possibility, it's a certainty. See you next time on the Business Coach Unplugged Podcast.